Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Back in Harrisburg. Hello, Harrisburg.
Hey, welcome back. We missed you.
Hey, yeah.
I don't know why I'm saying that. I'm not in Harrisburg.
You're not in. No, that'd be cool. It'd be weird that we'd do this on the internet. If you were, we could just be in a room together.
True. It would be very surprising if I just suddenly revealed I was in Harrisburg.
The big reveal. We saved it for VGH 540. Yeah.
I don't know how people would feel about that if we teased a big
along.
Reveal. And it's like, oh, we're in the same city. Feels a little underwhelming to me.
How exciting for Randy.
Right, yes. Big reveal for some people. But anyway, I am DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California. Not in Pennsylvania. Nowhere near Pennsylvania, really.
No. As far as you can be from Pennsylvania without falling into the ocean.
Quite far. Yeah. I could be in Santa Cruz. Could go a little farther. But,
without falling into the bay. Excuse me.
Sure. Wait a minute. Yep. All right.
No? I don't know how the geography on that works out. I'm just saying.
No, that's fine. It's fine. We're all Americans here. We have no idea.
Not at all. Nope. Yeah. Every now and then it comes up like in a little quiz, like, can you name these states by their shape on a map? Or can you name these states just by their capital? I'm like, nope, can't do either of those things. Cannot be done.
It's like, congratulations, you passed. You can now work for the U.S. government.
Right, exactly. You have a bright future.
Yeah.
As a census taker or something.
Right.
Yep.
You know, the square state or the other square state? There are two of them.
Utah or Nevada.
Sure. Close enough.
Yeah. Everything about those states I learned from Breaking Bad. So I'm not sure how much accurate that stuff is.
They weren't in Utah, were they?
No, they were in New Mexico.
New Mexico, yeah. Albuquerque.
Yeah. Arizona.
Albuquerque, Utah.
Austin, Massachusetts.
Yeah, I heard of that one.
So how is life on the left coast, DJ? How's the weather? How are things?
Oh, it's good. It's good. Everything's great. I had to put my poor little phone to rest last week.
Oh.
Which is quite a traumatic experience. You know, it seems like it shouldn't be a big deal. But at this point, this is probably true for a lot of people, I have a significant amount of history with just the stuff, the content on my phone.
Yeah.
So anyway,
the content of your life.
It seems very like dystopian to put it that way, but it's true in some sense. Like I have a lot of photos and things, and just my apps. I don't know.
You can't possibly replace those. Once you get them, you get like a one and done.
Right.
They're gone forever.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so long story short, I had to wipe my phone basically because there was something wrong with it, and I ended up replacing it with a new one. I was able to get most of the important data back, like I have all my photos and everything, and I managed to save my contacts. I was pleading with the guy at the Apple store. I was just like, please. Just give me my contacts. I have my photos already. That's all I need. I do not need to be the guy who's like, new phone, who this, to like,
who
to
this?
200
Yeah,
people.
Exactly.
I just won't talk to anybody else if that's what it comes to.
Right.
But it was so weird. I mean, on one hand, it's nice because I got kind of a clean slate on my phone, so I can, go back in and just put the stuff I actually need on it, or ostensibly the stuff I need. But doing this, I went through just the whole list of every app that I've ever downloaded on this thing since, I don't know how long I've had a smartphone or whatever, since more than 10 years, like 2007 or 8.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, so
I mean, I don't know when you got your first smartphone, but
Yeah.
that's about the time, I think.
that's
Yeah.
the approximate window.
Yeah.
But it was weird. It's just a weird experience looking through all of these apps, some of which I've not even thought about since whatever that was. Just thinking like, wow, I don't even remember what this was. How many weird little like Zen meditation apps have I downloaded over the years and never used? How many versions of Solitaire and just bizarre sort of one-off video games have been on here that I've completely forgot about?
Yeah. Do you have any apps from like that early day of the smartphone that have sort of survived the carryover to this most recent iteration?
I think that like it's different for iOS devices because at some point they changed like I don't know if it was like a chipset or they just upgraded the OS, so older apps all broke. And depending on if the developer was on top of things, they could update it to be compatible or not. But
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, I have some apps that fell into that category that were like quite old.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, looking at the list just shows everything. So I saw like the first few apps and games that I ever downloaded, and I was just thinking, oh wow, remember that? Remember, it was like pre. Oh no, I mean it couldn't be pre App Store, but they were like the first sort of widely known apps on the App Store.
Right.
Just thinking about what a weird time that was.
Back when we were all learning what an app was.
Yeah, and there were like 10 apps on it, so if you could be the first one to get a copy of Solitaire on there, it could be very good for you.
Yeah, I have there's an app called Tippy Tipper.
Oh,
it's like a tip calculator,
Mhm.
and it looks like it has not been updated since like the first version of Android.
You load it up and it like looks like a physical like calculator with a paper roll or something.
Pretty much, yeah. It's not. It still has those little. I don't know if Apple still uses these. I don't use Apple devices a lot, but like when you're trying to select like the amount, it's like it pops up a little wheel that you have to spin through to select the right number. Yeah,
That was real popular for a while.
Yeah, it was that was the only way you could possibly select things on a smartphone. And Tippy Tipper still does it. Clearly, it had been ported from iOS at some point over to Android, and they just have not.
Oh, wait.
It so that
so I mean, I still have those things in iOS, those sort of like rolling number widgets. But what I was thinking of, I mean, I was imagining one that would look like a physical, like, I don't know where you would even see these, like on a sports scoreboard or something.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Like an alarm clock that has the little fall over numbers that.
Yes, sort of.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's a real version of this. Maybe they just invented it so they could have it look like a physical thing.
Yeah, but it is. I mean, and there are easier ways to sort of calculate what the tip should be on a meal when you go out.
Sure.
But I don't know. I like this Tippy Tipper app. I've just had it in every version of every smartphone I've ever owned. I can't give it up for some reason.
Yeah. Can't just use like a calculator app.
No. Well, I mean, I can say, I'm not going to say it now because my phone will turn on.
Mm-hmm.
But I could say, hey, what is an 18% tip on this check? And it will tell me, and I could just write it on the line. But no, I got to use the Tippy Tipper app.
Well,
yeah, Tippy Tipper on Android is about to get like 100 more downloads than they were expecting this week.
right. I was going to say they should have charged a subscription. They had no idea that, you pay 99 cents for it or whatever back in 2009.
They should send me a referral code. I'll get some kickbacks.
1% of everybody's tip. All the extra gratuity.
Exactly. Yep. And I will donate it to no one. It's for me.
Yeah. But anyway, so just a weird experience going back through the vault of apps and just kind of being astonished at just how much junk I have accumulated on my phone over the years.
It's nice to start fresh, though. I miss sort of like, getting a new smartphone and being able to like just kind of wipe the slate, just begin from zero again.
Yeah.
Every time I get one now, it like, I don't know, just put your two phones near each other and we'll carry all your shit over and all the settings will go too.
All your baggage from the last 10 years will
exactly. Every text message your mother has ever sent you since the dawn of time. Just can't get rid of any of that stuff. It's still in there.
Yeah. Oh, I lost all my text messages, so I was kind of upset about that. But also, like, does that matter? That's not that important.
Yeah.
That's the kind of mindset I'm trying to keep with this thing. It's like a lot of that stuff you don't really. It's not going to make a difference.
It must be nice to just open up that text message app and see nothing, 0 messages. What a weird treat.
Right.
What a weird, like, I don't know, resetting of the emotional clock.
Right. It was very weird. I was like, oh my God, was I talking to anyone? They'll get back to me if it was important.
Somebody text me quick.
So weird.
Yikes. Well, good. Is your new phone nicer, faster, smarter, bigger than the previous one, or is it? I mean, one for one?
It's nicer in that it has a fresh battery on it, and it doesn't have as many apps weighing it down anymore. But it's the same model. They just gave me a new one.
It works when you want it to. That's and the advantage it has over the previous one. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I thought about like haggling with the guy because I was like, I've seen the specs of the new one. You can just put one of those in there. That nobody's gonna notice. But no, he just gave me the previous one. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just a real harrowing week. Had a lot of stuff going on, and the phone did not. His phone problems did not help out with any of that. So,
well, welcome back to productive society, DJ.
Thank you. Yes, I can now sign back into all my my logins that require 2-factor.
Now everybody from work can message you on the weekend.
Right. Well, I was telling people at work, I was like, well, my phone's broken. If I get kicked out of like Slack or whatever, I don't know if I'll be able to get back in because my phone would just not receive any data. So it was interesting. I was kind of like, oh, snow day, but also kind of a bummer.
Good times.
Anyway, that was my harrowing episode from last week.
It sounds terrifying. Most of the time when I get it, well, every time, I don't think I've ever like destroyed a phone or lost a phone or broken a phone or, I have friends that have like real bad habits of like cracking the screen on every phone they've ever had or dropping it into toilets at concerts and horrible things like that.
No.
And I've never done anything like that. I've been very good to my phones. And they've always sort of made it to the next phone, which is usually a planned purchase. And, I get excited about a new one and I read all the reviews and I pre-order or post-order or whatever. And I get it and I make the transition. And it's never this sort of like, oh my God, nothing works. I have no communication with the outside world. What do I do? So yeah, I've never had to like get a new phone like under duress before. So I can only imagine it would be terrifying.
Yeah, it was a little sketchier than I would have liked. but I mean, when it comes down to it, it's just a phone. I was fine. I was almost like coming to terms with it, just hanging out at the mall before my Apple Store appointment and not able to look up just look at stupid websites or social media on my phone while I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Just being alone with my own thoughts.
Right. While they were waiting in line for things in the past. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I was like, oh, what did I do? I guess I should have brought a book or something. I don't know. It was weird. But I was like, I could maybe do this. And then, 5 seconds after getting the phone back, I was like, oh my God, my apps were, where are they?
I missed you, Twitter.
Oh, I didn't really miss Twitter.
No, I know. Yep. Well, cool. Got to play some games on the new phone. Did you lose your progress in Desert Golf?
I did. That was actually the most tragic thing because I was so far in that game. But I did reinstall it, so there is that implies that I have some subconscious intention to go back and get my score back.
Just start from hole 1 again.
Yeah, it's quite daunting because I had played a lot of that game, but yeah,
it doesn't cloud save or anything. It doesn't carry any of your stuff over, which is sort of a bonus for the game. It's like you don't have to sign in or connect it to Facebook or any of that craziness. But yeah, once you get a new phone, it's gone forever.
Yeah, this whole thing, it was a very interesting exercise and just sort of seeing which games or just which apps in general, like how good they were at preserving data. Because like a lot of games, unless I was signed into like Apple's game service or whatever, they just were like, oh, forget it. You have to start over, like Desert Golf. But, other apps would ask for like 2-factor or some recovery address. But there are other things like Spotify, open it up, and I was just signed right in. It's like, oh, somebody on the Spotify team figured it out. Why doesn't every other app do this?
Oh, hello, Mr. Ross. Here's some video game soundtracks for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah. I get the weird, things on my phone that are like, oh, you're signed into, Spotify at this location in this random city that you've never been to before. And I'm like, whoa, 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 what? That's alarming. Let's cancel all contact I have with that city and turn off. Yeah, log me out. Let's get a new password.
Oh, really? So you actually got your Spotify hacked or something? That's weird.
I don't know if it got hacked or if it's just one of those weird things where it's, some server somewhere that I'm logged into through a smart TV or something.
Oh.
And it's just giving me the wrong address. Like if I use Spotify on my TV in my living room downstairs, it probably signed me into a server, somewhere in Washington, D.C. or something crazy like that. And, it just told me I was in a different city than the place that I thought I was going to be. And I was like, well, better safe than sorry. Let's start over.
You're just like in a drug-fueled haze in Philadelphia or somewhere. You're like, oh, I have a playlist for this.
Yep. Just blacked out on the floor at a crack den in Washington, D.C., listening to Spotify.
Yeah.
Yep. Guys, have you heard the new Panic at the Disco?
I'm sure they have a playlist that's like, this is cracked out in Washington, D.C. or something.
Right, exactly. I'm like, whoops, let's start that over. Get that out of there.
Yeah.
We can't have that come on when I'm, I've got company over.
It's like, why are we listening to this playlist? Well, I don't know. It's just curious.
Video games. What have you been playing?
Yes, what's games.
Tickling your fancy these days, DJ?
I have been playing Cloudpunk, which is a cyberpunk adventure game. I believe is how they describe it. I've been meaning to get around to this for quite some time. And
well, hold on, it's not the cyberpunk.
No,
game.
This is cyberpunk. No, God, now you got me all confused. This is Cloudpunk. It's not that other cyberpunk game. It's a cyberpunk game.
Not the cyberpunk.
Not the cyberpunk game. Well, I mean, is that game even the cyberpunk game?
I mean, it is the name of that game.
Sure, but I would argue that it is yet another a cyberpunk game. It just happens to be called that.
Got it.
But anyway, I played this game. It does take place in, imagine your cyberpunk dystopia of choice. It has very little to do with that other game, aside from just the general sort of cyberpunk aesthetic and some themes, I suppose.
Sure. And I'm afraid now that maybe I confused our listeners. It's not connected to that other game in any way.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is by a German developer called Ion Lands. And essentially what it is you play as like a courier who drives a little flying car around this cyberpunk city, which looks very much like, the city in Blade Runner or The Fifth Element or any other of these cyberpunk sort of metropoli. It takes place in the city called Nivalis, which is possibly the last city, or like one of the last cities on Earth, but it's just, the typical sprawling cyberpunk megalopolis where, it just stretches on for miles and, all the buildings stick up way into the sky. You can barely see, actually you can't see the ground underneath. You just see all these little flying highways of cars kind of zipping around.
So very Fifth Element. It's got kind of a Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Aesthetic, yeah.
So you play as this courier, and it's her first night. She's just moved to Nivalis from outside the city. It's kind of down on her luck. And she started working for this delivery service called Cloudpunk, which is kind of an illicit, like, under-the-radar delivery service. They do these kind of under-the-table deliveries for VIPs and whoever can afford them. And that's basically the game, is you talk with your operator from Cloudpunk, and they tell you, go pick up a package, and here's where you need to take it, and you go take it there. And that is more or less the loop. Like, along the way, you have occasional interactions with, like, your clients and various sort of colorful NPCs that you run into along the way. Sort of like incidental stuff happens. It feels very much like the first few hours of any Grand Theft Auto game, where you're not really established in the criminal underworld yet. You're just sort of like running errands for people, and maybe they'll have something juicier for you later on.
Right. You're just sort of figuring out the mechanics, setting the stage.
Yeah, you spend a lot of time flying around this little hover car. Although there are a lot of... You spend a surprising amount of time outside the car as well, just like walking around on foot, because I don't know, sometimes you need to go physically pick up the package, sometimes you're going to the store, or going back to your apartment or whatever, but yeah, I wasn't expecting that component. From my understanding, this was mostly just driving around in a little like hover taxi.
Right.
Yeah, so that was cool. So as you make more of these deliveries, you like this grander sort of cyberpunk story unfolds where, maybe your operator or just Cloudpunk in general is not up to any good. The big corporations that control the city, they're definitely not up to any good. There's all this like class war stuff going on, a lot of sort of shady conspiracy stuff. Doesn't seem to stray too far from sort of a lot of like cyberpunk tropes that you might expect or have experienced before. But
and how is this information sort of coming your way?
Oh, which information? What do you mean?
About like, the shady goings-ons at your company and
just things. Like, people's demeanor and the way they talk to you and what you hear from other people. The operator is very like informal is very impersonal with you to start, because it keeps referring to you as your driver number. And, you're not allowed to ask what's in the package, stop asking so many questions or you're going to get in trouble and all that stuff. So it's like, well, I don't know if this Cloudpunk service is on the up and up. It's kind of interesting. You have a few choices very early on that sort of define sort of your character's moral compass. And I had to say, it's been so long since I had to do this in a game. Speaking of like 2008 and 2009, remember when every game was just like, well, do you want to save the orphans or do you want to, burn down the orphanage so you can collect the insurance money or whatever?
Yes, that does sound familiar. I believe I played that video game. Yeah,
exactly. They do throw a couple of decisions at you like that, and I was like, oh wow, it's been so long since I had to do one of these. It's kind of a fun throwback.
And are they sort of that dramatically polarizing, or?
I mean, it's not quite as like melodramatic as the burning orphanage, but
right,
they are like most of the decisions have very clear sort of moral alignments. It's like, oh, well, this is light spoilers. Should I deliver this ticking package to the client, or I could dispose of it in a garbage chute or something?
So we have a sci-fi Cloudpunk future where we have flying cars, but somehow packages still tick in a nefarious way. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows why it was ticking? It just seems sketchy, right?
Maybe it was like a classic clock collector you were delivering to. You don't know.
Yeah. Man,
why do you ask so many questions?
I really messed up that delivery if that's the case.
Yeah.
Well, but despite feeling very familiar, a lot of the plot developments early on, I had a really good time. Like I really enjoyed the story and just seeing how everything unfolded, and running into a bunch of the weird, like just very imaginative cyberpunk characters along the way. Like, this is probably, I don't know how much like cyberpunk sort of like literature or just media you've consumed, but you just meet so many funny, weird characters. Like there are a bunch of androids, and there's like a private investigator android who speaks to you in the third person, like he's narrating. It's like his just internal monologue the entire time. Like he never talks directly to you, but it'll be like, well, I was back in the dame's taxi cab or whatever. And I can't do the entire monologue, but just weird, silly characters. So yeah, I really enjoyed sort of the story. And what I thought was surprising is that for the actual game part of it, you're really just driving this car around, or flying this car around rather, and occasionally you hop out to carry a package around. But that's pretty much it. There's not like any combat. There's very minimal sort of conflict or time pressure to complete these missions, despite the fact that you're working for a courier service.
Right.
But a lot of it is just steering this car around and getting from point A to point B.
But no like driving game hooks. You're not trying to like set a record time or survive a crash or jump over a gulch or anything like
Oh
that.
no, not anything like that. Like there are maybe a few missions which will have a time constraint, but they're pretty generous, and in general, the driving is pretty forgiving. It's actually pretty fun to just sort of chill out and fly this car around. Because,
but it's used more as it sounds like more of like a stage for delivering the rest of the story and all those other nuggets.
Sure, a vehicle, if you will.
Yeah.
But so it's a lot of fun.
I won't, thank you, but yes.
A lot of the time you're just flying this thing around, and because it's a little hover car flying in between these like massive towers of these buildings and high rises and everything in the city, it's super cool. Like everything looks great. The city is rendered in a really cool way. It just really feels like you're in Blade Runner or Fifth Element or one of those movies.
Cool.
You spend a lot of time driving down these sort of like, I guess the equivalent of a highway, where whenever you're on one of these like main thoroughfares, you get a little speed boost. But most of the time you have to sort of hop off or take the equivalent of an off ramp and just make your way to the final destination. And that involves a lot of sort of like cornering around buildings and finding little passages through them. But I thought like the whole thing was so fun. It's just, I don't know what it is about this hover car. It's just cool to drive around. Not a lot of other games do that. It makes such a good sound when it's flying too. It's like got the little hover car engine. It just sounds really good.
Nice. I mean, that's what it is about a hover car, right? It's just being able to fly around in a car.
Yeah. It's I don't know.
No, it looks great. I'm looking at screenshots. It looks it definitely. I think you sort of nailed the aesthetic. It's definitely got a Blade Runner, Fifth Element, every sci-fi movie you've ever seen kind of look to it, but it's a little chunkier, a little shinier.
Yeah. I was not expecting to be that into it because, like, sure, I'll fly a little hover car around in the game. That sounds fun. But when I actually started doing it and, like, swerving in between these buildings that would sort of emerge from the fog, it seems like it's always nighttime, so you get all the little windows are lit up and it just looks really cool. Just like, wow, this is great. I mean, they did such a good job with the atmosphere in this. Like, as you're flying around, you get, you occasionally hear sort of radio voiceover, sort of like, the radio in Grand Theft Auto, where they're just doing the stupid, jokey commercials. But in this, it's all sort of, they're like ads for these incredibly dystopian, like, cyberpunk products, like virtual reality vacations or like face transplants and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, I guess that would be something you would hear as you are, doing these futuristic deliveries. Sure.
Yeah. Those are always kind of the fun part of GTA or Saints Row games too, is the fake in-world advertisements and things like that.
Yeah. It's done in a way in this. I mean, it's not like super cheesy and kind of cringy like the GTA commercials. It's it's more or less sort of like played straight. They're kind of tongue in cheek just because it is ridiculous to have a commercial for like a face transplant, but it's not as over the top as all the GTA stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's funny.
Yeah. The whole game, so like aesthetically, is also really interesting because it seems like the whole game is rendered as like voxels, which are like these 3D pixels. I don't know if I've ever played an entire game that was rendered like this, actually. But it's very interesting because you see it and everything is 3D, but at the same time it's very low res. So it's not like you're, if you were playing another game, like if Naughty Dog had made this game or something, I'm sure you just have these incredibly ornate like 3D models with very shiny, like photorealistic textures all over them and all these incredible lighting effects. And it would look unbelievable. But in this, it's kind of like flying around a Minecraft city where like nothing is really textured. They're just like these big, flat, colorful blocks. So just kind of very simple and low detail, but it just works with the whole cyberpunk sort of futuristic atmosphere. Like you have all these chunky cars flying around. All the lighting looks really great because they're just these big sort of bright blocks of color all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
when you get out of the car, this was really shocking. So you hop out and you're just like, you look like this weird, like blocky human. Like, have you ever played any of the Super Brothers stuff, like Sword and Sorcery? Just the weird, like chunky little humans with like pixel arms and legs and a weird like block body. Just really strange looking. This is not what I was expecting to hop out of the car. But for some reason it just works. It looks really good. It's very distinctive.
Cool.
And
so there's sort of like an element of kind of like pixelation to it that I'm not really getting from looking at the screenshots and stuff like that. But
yeah, I think if you were just going to watch a trailer or something and you're not watching it on like a huge screen or something, it might not come across. But yeah, once you get into it, it's like unmistakable. Everything is very blocky. It's very cool.
Cool.
I feel like it. I mean, I don't know really the exact sort of like advantages and disadvantages to using this sort of voxel style over like a more traditional graphic style. But my theory is that I think it's like still a fairly small scale team that made this, but it seems like it would be easier to build, for instance, like a huge Minecraft building out of these big blocks than render an entire skyscraper and like carve out every single floor and then texture everything to the degree that you would expect like a PS5 or Xbox game to look.
Right.
So I feel like maybe it helped them put together the city in a smaller time frame, but the end result still looks terrific. I think it looks really amazing.
Cool. I'm sorry, I googled this as you started talking about it because it sounds very cool and its screenshots are gorgeous. But one of the little reviews here says it's dripping with atmosphere. I'm like, whoa, wow.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you have a dog too in the game. Is that?
Oh yeah, this was stupid.
Yeah.
You have like.
Oh no, really?
So, at one point early on, this is like I don't think this is a spoiler. You have your dog's brain, I guess, saved to a digital file, and then you replace your car, like your onboard AI, with the dog. So just like the dog talks to you through the car, and it's like this is my least favorite part of the game, actually, because the dog, it's like typical dog personality. It's just it seems like it's like the dog from Up. It's like kind of brainless, just very earnest. And I just thought it was very irritating. Like it was like the joke wore off very quickly.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay, so I didn't quite understand what they were pulling at this little write up I'm reading, but
yeah, it's. I mean, it's sort of necessary because aside from your operator, it's like the second major character in the game is like who your main character ends up talking to most of the time. So she's just not talking to herself. So it feels like an important character. It's just I got sort of irritated with the dog. With so many conversations would be like, "Oh, why are we going here? Oh, I don't like this." Just speaking like you would expect a dog to speak.
Okay, well, that's disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, to each his own. Maybe it'll work better for other people than it did for me.
Right.
But in terms of dripping with atmosphere, yeah, it's very, very good. Like I love the driving around. Even the on-foot segments were super cool because, like, the city, despite being very low res, is so detailed. Like, there's all the signage around, like a bunch of neon. You'll see all these other NPCs walking around, and I don't know, the whole city just feels very detailed and like alive. Which was, I feel like, is kind of an achievement, being able to render like a city on this scale and not have it feel like completely deserted.
Sure. Which is an experience I've had in video games before where, it's supposed to be like, this teeming metropolis and there's the same reused NPCs over and over.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe that helps because nobody is really like, nobody is especially recognizable just because they're these weird blocky voxel characters.
Right.
But also just the environments, you can't necessarily go into every single building that you see, but it feels like you could. Just because like you can see through a lot of windows on the storefronts and everything and all these little kiosks around. It's just really like you could spend a lot of time just exploring the entire city if you really felt like it.
Cool. Because I think I want to play this.
Yeah, I think you'd be into it. I think you'd really dig it, actually. I was able to wrap it up in a little over a weekend, actually, so it's not super long. Pretty good from start to finish. I think there's I may just spend a little more time flying the car around, even after the credits roll, just because I had such a good time, and maybe those little corners of the city that I haven't seen yet. Maybe some side quests I haven't done. But yeah, really good from start to finish. I'm not sure why I put off playing this for so long.
This article says there is there's DLC.
Oh yeah, there's I've seen this described as sequel length. There's a DLC that came out City of Ghosts or something.
Yes, that's exactly what it's called.
I'll check that out at some point. Maybe not right away, but it's cool that it seems like it's been successful.
Yeah, there's more out there if you want to go back to it.
Yeah. Anyway, that
cool.
is Cloudpunk, not that other game. It's out on Steam, PS4, Switch, maybe Xbox. I'm not sure about that last one. Man, I'm curious how this runs on Switch, because I played this on PS4 and there were moments. There were times when it would chug a little bit, which is not. It wasn't a detractor, but sometimes I worry about that little Switch, how it's doing.
Yeah, I bought it on the Switch. I have it sitting on my Switch right now. So, yeah, I'll let you know.
All right.
Yeah, it seems like it might be might be a lot to ask.
I don't know. A lot of developers have proven to be pretty clever about getting stuff to run on the Switch. So maybe this will just be one of those.
At this point in its life, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what have you been up to? What are you into lately?
I have been playing this fun little game called A Monsters, and it occurs to me that I didn't say at the beginning of the show, like I usually do, what games we're talking about this week.
Oh.
Skip that entirely.
You could say anything. You could talk about something entirely unexpected at this point.
I've not promised anything, and therefore I have not failed to deliver at this point. So
that's we could just end the show right now.
We could. Thank you for calling. Have a nice day. No, I've been playing a game called A Monsters Expedition Through Puzzling Exhibitions.
Oh.
Say that 3 times fast.
I'm struggling to even read it.
So this is a fun open world puzzle game. I've been digging deep into r/puzzle games on Reddit, and this seems to be a big favorite of the community for the last year or so. And it is semi-recently out on the Switch, and I figured I would give it a shot.
Oh.
So the hook here is that you are a little monster, just a black blob with noodly arms and legs who has a backpack on.
Ooh,
and you are on vacation. You're visiting sort of the future England land, and England land is now a series.
I'm sorry, I'm going to need elaboration on that.
Yeah. Is now a series of islands that you have to sort of navigate. And occasionally on one of the islands, you'll find a little exhibit of something from kind of the land before, something that has been unearthed from kind of the previous world, with a little plaque that you can kind of push into and read.
Okay.
That gives you a very funny and totally inaccurate explanation of what that thing is.
Okay.
So there's for example, and this is sort of a low-hanging fruit joke, but there's an exercise bike in the exhibition, and you lean into the little plaque and read it, and it's a clothes drying rack is what it says.
Got it.
Is that humans in England land used to put their clothes on this to dry it, and our monster scientists believe that if they pedaled faster, it would dry their clothes quicker.
So there's a whole society of these noodly monster things.
Presumably, you so far in the game, I've not encountered anyone except for the one that you sort of control throughout the game.
Yeah. Okay.
But you're led to believe that this is an eventual future where the monsters have taken over.
Interesting.
Yeah. And they are trying to sort of figure out what life for humans was like in England once upon a time. And so you're in a giant museum spread out across a series of 100 islands. And each island is in itself a little puzzle where you have a couple of trees growing, a couple of rocks, and you can knock over the trees and make little bridges and make little pathways to get to other islands. The trees have very sort of specific rules about how they move. It's a grid-based kind of situation. So if the tree is one kind of grid square long, you can kind of roll it left and right and it will roll until it bumps into something. If it doesn't bump anything, it just falls off into the water. And sometimes you want that. Sometimes it turns into a bridge that you can then use to walk across to the next island. But sometimes it just sort of falls into the water and you're screwed and you have to reset that island.
Yeah.
If the trees are taller, and there are tall trees, you can't move them end over end. You can only sort of drag or heave them. And they still roll, of course. So those are good for like bigger projects and stuff like that. And if you get two logs side by side, they'll kind of wrap together and turn into a little platform that floats. And you can use that to sort of push yourself off to float onto an island maybe that's a little bit farther away. So you are moving from island to island, looking for little museum exhibits, reading the funny little plaques with the bogus explanations of what those things were, and solving a quick little puzzle, trying to figure out, like, how do I use the two trees that are growing on this island to get to the next island, and sort of lather, rinse, repeat for like hundreds and hundreds of islands.
Hundreds of islands, okay.
Yeah, I'm at I think 136 islands.
Oh my God.
And there are a lot more that I still have not gotten to yet. So I don't know how much longer this goes on. But yeah, it is a pretty impressive how much mileage these developers have gotten out of this fairly limited move set.
After Island 100 or so, it doesn't just loop back around and, call it Island 101. You just don't notice the same island.
This has made it especially difficult for me to figure out, to look up solutions, because there's been a couple little islands where I'm like, I have no idea what to do. I have moved these logs 100 times and I have no idea how to get off this freaking island to get to the next one. So I'm trying to Google, how do I get off this island in a monsters expedition through puzzling exhibitions, and there's no way to sort of identify it.
Is it all numbered?
Bottom left-hand corner of the map. There's a little code in the bottom corner of the screen, and I tried Googling the specific code, thinking that was sort of like the coordinates of the island, but it has not helped me. So either someone on the internet has not done the big work of mapping the coordinates of every island in this game, or it doesn't mean anything useful to me.
Well, sounds like something you should take up with r/puzzle games.
I have been able to get a little bit of help. Somebody had a collection of GIFs that they had made of some of the more difficult islands to solve. But there's no way of sort of telling which is which, unless you sort of look at it and go, that's exactly the one I'm on, with the two rocks in the corner and the one tree. So yeah, it is, I don't know, the developers have somehow made an internet-proof puzzle game, which is brilliant, but also a little bit infuriating.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Interesting scenario. I wonder if they did that on purpose.
It seems super deliberate. Yeah, I suspect it probably was not accidental. Yeah.
Did you hear the this is one of my favorite rumors about Elden Ring, is that the horse that you ride in that game is named Torrent. So people searching for Elden Ring Torrent so they can download the game illegally, or so they can pirate the game or whatever. We'll just get articles about the horse.
That's fantastic. I do like that a lot.
Not sure if that was intentional, but that would be great if it was.
If not intentional, it's still a very happy accident.
Yeah, it's still very good.
Yeah, and that's clever. I like that a lot. Yeah, that's funny. So yeah, I suspect that I found myself sort of trapped in a very similar loop here, and that I keep trying to sort of, every now and then, not a lot. Sometimes it's like a couple of seconds, like, okay, I knock over that tree and then sort of knock over this one and then roll it across and flip it, and then I can get to the next line. Like, some of them are like 35 seconds for me to suss out the right sort of combination of moves.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and then I'll get to one where it's a little more complicated. There's a few more trees and a couple more obstacles in the way. I can just see an island off of the distance, so I know I need something that's sort of like 2 squares long to get me there. And I'm trying to sort of like figure out like how to build a bridge to that thing with the limited like space and resources that I have on this island, and I just cannot wrap my brain around what the solution is. And the game's real smart about sort of giving you like, you can tap a button to just sort of undo the last thing that you did, and you can do that over and over again, and it basically rewinds you. Or you can just hit X and it just resets the island that you're on entirely to the condition that it was in when you first stepped foot on it.
So it kind of
with no penalty
it whenever you like set foot on a new island, is that right? But they're all
correct.
They're all still like part of this connected world.
They're all still their own little kind of independent puzzle.
Okay.
That you are trying to sort of suss out the solution to.
Okay, so it's not like, I was just curious if maybe the way you solve one island could prevent you from successfully solving another island.
Yeah, I found a few situations like that where I see an island to my south and I'm trying to get there and I can't sort of manipulate the logs and stuff that I have at my disposal to get there. But what I really should have been doing is focusing on the island to the east. And it will loop around and then bring me back up through the south. So yeah, sometimes you get an island that is sort of like a beginning and an end of a cluster of them. I'm just trying to sort of point myself in the wrong direction, I think.
Got it.
And I'll come back to that. And I was like, oh, hey, here's that mailbox and that park bench and that one exhibit that I saw before. So yeah, again, it's you kind of get these couple little moves, these couple little kind of rules that you quickly learn in the first 3 or 4 islands, and you just apply them over and over again to every one that you land on from that point forward. There's a couple other additional little things that sort of pop up. Like if you float a big log out into the water, you can then roll one of the small ones over the top of it to kind of lengthen it. So these are things that you learn by trying to sort of break the game sometimes. I wonder if I could do this. So again, it continues to be sort of pleasantly surprising just how much mileage the developers have gotten out of this fairly limited kind of set of moves. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm having a really good time with it. I do find myself scratching my head quite a bit, thinking maybe I have to come back to this later. Maybe I get some other ability later.
Yeah.
I keep trying to like Zelda it or Tomb Raider it somehow. Like I'm just missing the hook shot. I got to come back later with the hook shot.
You need the double jump.
Right. And there's no hook shot or double jump in a Monsters Expedition. You pretty much get, at least as far as I've gotten thus far, 100 and something islands in, everything you can do on the first island.
Huh.
And it just sort of reuses those abilities over and over again in sort of pretty unique ways, to be able to sort of like, milk more experience out of this thing. So it's cute. It's relatively low stress. Any stress that I've encountered thus far has been self-inflicted in a lot of ways. Has just been me going, oh, dummy, you should have done this from the first place. The writing is really funny on the little plaques and stuff like that. The characters are super cute. Everything's kind of beautifully, kind of painted and assembled in this cute little kind of puzzle box. And it's fun that you don't finish a puzzle and it sort of goes to, puzzle number 2 on the next screen, puzzle number 3 on the next screen. Like the map continues to grow and grow and grow.
Uh-huh.
Most of it is covered in fog at the beginning, but as the monster lands on a new island, it clears the fog around it.
Oh, okay.
So you're as you sort of switch over to the map sometimes and sort of look around, you get sort of this perfect kind of view of everywhere you've gone through the fog, and you can still see all the places you haven't been yet. And you've got to clear the fog from those places. So again, there's a lot of really sort of very sort of subtle like creative choices here to kind of tell you how far you've gone, where you've still let to go, and how to use kind of the skills and abilities that you that feel super limited, but have been manipulated in pretty unique ways.
Yeah. And it's all vaguely England shaped. Like, can you tell where you
Um,
are at any given point?
I've not been able to make that connection yet.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you're
This
actually
whole
sort of.
time I was just picturing, you know, the whole UK or whatever has just been reduced.
I'm just making a map of England. No,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I've not thought of looking at it that way. I just sort of thought that like these are the remains of the things that came from England. I never actually thought I was actually on England, but
Oh, weird. Okay. Huh.
perhaps.
Well, how do you
Yeah.
know it's England to begin with if you're just digging up like exercise bikes?
There, the plaques refer to like the residents of England land is what it says.
Okay.
So as they've sort of found things that they have put on exhibits in this little museum that they've set up, they sort of attribute it to the people of England land.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Very different sort of visual of how this game looked.
maybe I'm just there's still quite a bit of fog on my map despite having gone through over 100 islands so far, so maybe once I clear some of that out it'll sort of be England shaped. But as it stands right now, it had not occurred to me that that was the destination.
I don't know.
So this is really cool. It's on Switch. I'm playing it on Switch, but it's on a bunch of other stuff. It's on iOS. It's on Android. I believe it's on Steam as well. The developers are called Drachnet and Friends, and apparently they make really artsy, really kind of puzzle games that apply a lot of kind of artistic creativity to I think things that maybe high mileage gamers probably take for to sort of take advantage. What's the word I'm looking for? Take for granted in video games. They have another game called A Good Snowman is Hard to Build, and it is basically sort of the snowman construction thing from Animal Crossing over and over and over again.
Oh, this helps you build
where
a
you have-
perfectly proportioned snowman.
Right. So again, you inhabit the body of this little black monster with noodly arms and legs, and he's
Wait,
in a
what?
park, like in a hedge maze, rolling up snowmen. And you've got to have a big ball on the bottom, a medium ball in the middle, and a small ball on the top. And you have a little bit of snow, and sometimes you have grass, and the balls don't get bigger or smaller on the grass, but they get much bigger on the snow. So you've got to figure out kind of what is the right amount of like rolling I can do in the snow to get these three balls together to build a perfectly proportioned snow person.
Got it.
And upon sort of successfully doing that, a name pops up. You've named the snow person. They get a little hat and a little cane and two coal eyes and a carrot nose and things like that. And a hole opens up in the hedge maze, and you go into the next portion of the hedge maze where there's a little bit of snow and a starter ball, and you start to build another snowman. So again, over and over and over again, you're building snowmen using this fairly limited kind of rule set and just rolling up snow people.
Okay, but so wait a minute though. You're the same noodly little monster thing?
I think so. They look like they're the same person.
Is that
or same monster?
That's just in all of their games are a little noodle monster?
These are the only two that I've played thus far, so I can't say
Oh.
I can't confirm or deny that it's in every game. But I'm looking into their history, and they've made a bunch of
just extrapolating
puzzle
you'd
games.
say 100%. Just
Sure.
noodle monsters everywhere.
This is the Drachnet and Friends unified cinematic universe. Yeah, it's where the monsters have taken over the world, and yeah, they're going to museums and building snow people.
They're just like their lead designer over there. It's just like, oh yeah, another game set in the the monster apocalypse. This noodle thing has taken over.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Actually, you know what? They also made the game. I'm looking at their wiki now. They made a game called Bonfire Peaks that I've played and talked about on the show. And you are not a monster in that.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I was like, I don't remember you mentioning that you're a noodle monster in that, but it'd be
You're
amazing
not,
if
no.
you're like, now that you mention it,
Why
why was I a weird little guy?
They actually just sort of updated the code for the game, so it turned it into a monster.
Yeah,
No, yeah. The hook in Bonfire Peaks is that they were sort of geometric puzzles. You had to sort of find your way up to the top of a volcano, and you had all this emotional baggage you were going to pitch into the volcano. And it was, symbolically, it was you sort of starting fresh, like you, DJ, getting a new cell phone. But and again, there were all these rules around how you were able to sort of ascend the mountain and how you could use sort of the blocks and things at your disposal to get up there. So I see sort of the thematic kind of build of how they approach kind of creating video games. But not all of them have monsters in them, apparently.
Or you're just a noodle monster in a human skin.
That could be it. That could be just one part of the monster's sort of nefarious plans to take over the world.
Oh, weird. Oh, man. Now I'm going to keep an eye on these guys. See what the next comes out. See what's going to monster in it or
of
not.
the 3 I've played, A Monster's Expedition Through Puzzling Exhibitions is easily my favorite thus far. And I feel like it's a lot of fun to play around with, and I've had a really good time with it. And I keep kind of going back to it. I'll do a handful of islands. It's not all the same. You kind of get, there's snowy ones and there's rainy ones, and there's sort of like the remains of an amusement park and things like that. So there's a little variety to it. It just makes it really difficult to Google where the hell you are and what the solution is. But nothing is insurmountable. Everything I've sort of found like, okay, well, not now. I'll go a different direction. I'll come back to it later. And inevitably I can sort of, find a little thing that I've not done before, or find a way of flipping a log, or, whatever. I clearly overlooked on a previous attempt and have been able to find my way to some new direction. As the map grows, you get little mailboxes that you find on the island, and you can mail yourself to another mailbox.
Oh.
So there's a little speed travel thing. So if you find that I've exhausted every puzzle in this corner of the map, and I'm just sort of fed up with trying to sort of suss out solutions I haven't been able to find yet, you just hop into a mailbox and it brings up the whole big map of every mailbox you've found thus far across England, apparently. And you can mail yourself off to another one and try tackling puzzles in that corner of the map for a little while.
Who's delivering the mails? Another little noodle monster? The royal post
you don't get
or
that.
whatever.
It's just you getting sort of sucked into the mailbox, and then the map opens up, you pick the one you want to mail yourself to, and it zooms in on that mailbox, and it sort of spits you out.
Okay.
So you land sort of on your back with a bunch of letters sort of falling on the ground around you.
Who's sending the letters? I have a lot of questions about this game.
I don't. Maybe there are future games where they're going to explain the monster apocalypse. I'm not sure, but
maybe those are just all the remaining letters left unsent when the monsters invaded.
And these heartless monsters are just, playing around in them and mailing themselves all over the place.
It's just so disrespectful to the mail system.
Yeah. So, A Good Snowman is Hard to Build is the other game, also on mobile. I played it on Android. And Bonfire Peaks, I don't believe it was on mobile, but is on Switch at this point. So all of these cool and pretty unique sort of approaches to a puzzle game. My favorite thus far is A Monster's Expedition. But yeah, definitely, if you like puzzle games, I would recommend checking out one or any of these. I think there's definitely some fun stuff happening here.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that it's a good game. I like it.
Nice. Well, is that are those all the games we promised we would talk about on this episode?
We have delivered on everything we've promised.
All
yes,
right.
Absolutely.
All right, excellent.
Yep. Cool.
Well,
if you need any more, go ahead.
I was like, well, what do we do now? You got it,
we wrap it up. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. And you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this episode at VGHangover.com. We would love for you to join our Discord, hang out with us, chat about video games and other fun things. You can get a link to that at VGHangover.com. And it would help us out immensely if you would subscribe, rate, and review us on your podcasting app of choice.
Yeah, just one of those 5-star reviews.
Sure. Always happy to receive those. Yeah, very much so. Perhaps even more important than that, tell your friends about us. The next time somebody says, hey, what's a good podcast I should listen to? Give them a link to Video Game Hangover. That'd be swell.
Yeah. Maybe one of your friends just got a new phone over the weekend. They lost all the podcast subscriptions they had on their old phone and don't even remember what they were listening to. Maybe give Video Game Hangover a shout out. No, that's it. I'm done. I don't listen to podcasts anymore. I can't deal with it. But anyway,
that sounds traumatizing.
It's fine. It's fine. Try not to be precious about this. But tell your friends about Video Game Hangover. Thank you.
Definitely.
We want to give thanks to Protodome again this week for our intro and outro music. Please go to protodome.bandcamp.com. listen to the rest of his stuff, maybe buy every album that you see on there. That would be terrific.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I think that's it.
I guess that's it.
That's the
Thanks
show.
so much for listening to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson.
I'm DJ Ross.
We'll be back next week. Have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.